They are weapons that turn night into day at sea. The landing ship Olenegorski Gornyak, once the pride of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, one of nearly 24 Russian warships sunk or seriously damaged by Ukraine in a new way of warfare.
Дрон. Вон второй дрон.
Compared with other weapons of war, it is remarkably simple. Simple, but deadly. The patrol ship Sergei Kotov sunk off occupied Crimea by a special unit of Ukraine's military intelligence, Group 13, and its commander, who goes by the nom de guerre callsign 13.
We are now changing the rules of fighting in Ukraine. We show that a large fleet does not mean equivalent to power. Ukraine, which does not actually have its own navy, has completely displaced the navy of the Russian Federation.
The Magura V5 maritime drone, a revolution in warfare. With a 200-kilogram warhead and a top speed of 80 kilometers an hour and a range of 800 kilometers, these cheap, expendable, remotely piloted boats have driven much of the Russian Black Sea Fleet out of their traditional waters in Crimea and away from Odessa and Ukrainian trade routes. The overall commander of Ukrainian drone forces, Colonel Vadim Sukhar-Vavesky, says they're not done hunting yet.
Unpleasant surprises are awaiting for them.
A little further west in the Persian Gulf and Red Sea, the U.S. Fifth Fleet has taken the use of drone technology to the next level, introducing artificial intelligence. The former commander, U.S. Vice Admiral Brad Cooper, says it all started 3 years ago.
So we brought really the dream team of unmanned surface vessels and artificial intelligence here to Bahrain for about a week and designed the operational concept of how this would work. And from that grew this Task Force 59. And the simplest of terms, just imagine a small vessel, 3 meters long to 10 meters long. And on this platform, you have radar, you have very sophisticated cameras, and it's controlled by satellite. You put 1 or 2 of them out there, you link them together, and artificial intelligence allows you to map the pattern of life at sea that's around them. And then when something is different, artificial intelligence flags that platform and sends it back to a human operator in a naval operations center.
There's a great deal of debate about AI technology right now. There's a lot of concern about it. Can you explain how the AI technology is used?
I've had no concerns about it whatsoever. We have a mature technology, it's reliable. And most importantly, we have a human being ultimately making decisions.
But as AI becomes more deeply embedded in military operations, migrating from surveillance to assistance and targeting, the voices calling for international regulation are getting louder. One of them is Branka Marian of Project Plowshares, who questions whether current AI technology is reliable enough in a war where human life is at stake.
Sometimes I get this question of like, what keeps you up at night? And I think a lot of people think like, I'll say like the Terminator, killer robots, but it's actually this deployment of technology that's not ready for these contexts. Conflict zones are very complex, environments, they change, the nature of the sort of the issue on the ground shifts. And if we deploy technologies that are not ready, we really risk sometimes escalating the conflicts in place, and other times really prolonging them. And so I think that's the issue with these reassurances is that we need more than reassurances, to put it simply.
Here at home, the Royal Canadian Navy has just begun to experiment with drone technology.
I think we're seeing the value of uncrewed and autonomous vessels. The fact that you can...
Vice Admiral Angus Topshee is the commander of the Canadian Navy and is asking himself some fundamental questions about the merger of remote technology and AI.
How do you ensure that it's still a human making the decision? I think it's really important that we don't have machines that are making decisions as to whether or not to kill someone or not kill someone. So how do you create the ability to do that? If I don't need to put a sailor at risk, I love the idea of being able to go out there, achieve an effect, and not put a sailor at risk.
The Navy recently awarded a $50 million contract for the purchase of remote underwater mine hunters, but is tiptoeing when it comes to introducing anything else. And that is despite several Canadian companies already being on the market with cutting-edge systems. Naval historian Mark Milner says, artificial intelligence aside, both Ukraine and the U.S. are innovating with commercially available gear at an astonishing pace.
It's the weaponization of modern technology, which is both alarming and fascinating. I often used to tell my students, for every, good piece of technology that we develop, there's somebody sitting somewhere saying, how can I make a bomb out of this?
The federal government's recent defense policy acknowledged how high-volume, low-cost drones are changing warfare in Ukraine and the Red Sea. It committed to preparing Canada for such a future. The strategy nods to how AI affects cyber and disinformation, but remains largely silent on how the Canadian military will use it.